We went rogue in Texas. Justin Medeiros outduels his competition while Laura Horvath rides off into the sunset with her first title. Plus, we'll have the latest details to emerge on the 2023 season. That's next on Game Central. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Game Central presented by Game Day Ready, the only all-natural conolidine-based pain reliever in the world. The 2022 Rogue Invitational took place this past weekend at Dell Diamond Stadium in Round Rock, Texas, and we had great races for both the men and the women, with the men's race coming down to the final event. And in the end, it was Justin Medeiros who becomes the first man to repeat as Rogue Invitational champion. He edges out Chandler Smith by 15 points. Jeffrey Adler finishes on the podium for the second straight year after winning the final event, Heavy Grace. The men's race was close throughout the entire weekend. There were 5 different lead changes, with Roman Krennikov and Justin Medeiros swapping the top spot on the leaderboard back and forth. Krennikov would fall off the lead pace in the late stages of the competition, while Pat Vellner made a charge. Vellner trailed Medeiros by just 5 points heading into the 10th and final event. Vellner looked like he was going to win the Rogue Invitational as he led late in that final event, Heavy Grace, but a couple of no reps would cost him. Justin Medeiros was able to pass him in the back stages of the 30 reps to secure his second straight championship. On the women's side, Laura Horvath wins the Rogue Invitational for the first time in her career. Annie Thorisdottir, competing as an individual for the first time since last year's Rogue Invitational, finishes second for the second straight time. And 17-year-old Emma Lawson continues her impressive year by taking third. Laura Horvath really took control of the women's competition in Event 3, Back Attack. It would be the first of her 4 straight event wins. She's the first woman to do that at the Rogue Invitational. Horvath would follow those 4 event wins up with a second place finish, and she needed those points because she took 19th in Event 8, Snatch and Press. She would get back on track after that. Horvath would finish with a 7th and a 3rd in the final 2 events and beat Annie Thorisdottir by 55 points. There were plenty of other big moments and storylines to come out of the 2022 Rogue Invitational. With his top 3 takeaways, here's Tommy Marquez.
Thanks, Sean. I hope you recovered from another great weekend on the call out at Rogue. We could spend an entire episode talking about the various takeaways from this weekend's competition, but we're going to go a little bit bigger picture here and focus on one major takeaway from each one of the divisions, starting with the Legends competition. Seeing the collection of legends take the field had me mulling over Rich's recent comments entertaining the possibility of competing in the Masters division alongside some of his fellow legends like Dan Bailey. The attitude towards the Masters competition from some of the sport's early stars has started to shift and lines up with a growing demographic of athletes in the sport fitting into the 35 and older divisions. The Legends comp was a nice reminder of how the OG stars of the sport staying active in it is a great testament to both the sport and the methodology, and bringing more attention to the longevity of the health and fitness created in the Masters division isn't a bad thing in my opinion. Laura Horvath continues to distance herself from the tough results of 2019 and 2020 and cement herself as a podium favorite every time she shows up. Annie Thorisdottir proves she's still got another Indy run in her, and one that should come with high expectations if she goes that route. Emma Lawson and Ellie Turner looked completely at home inside the top 5, and it's hard to look at their performances, especially in the back half of the competition, and not get excited for their continued development. And finally, in the men's division, at first glance, the leaderboard may seem like things are business as usual, with Justin Medeiros winning yet again, but I really think the continued parity at the top leads me to believe that the best is yet to come for the men's division this upcoming season. First things first, the finish may have been tough, but I think Pat Vellner proved that he's still got plenty left in the tank for another podium run and even adding some pressure for the top spot after coming just 5 reps shy of winning the whole thing out at Rogue. Chandler Smith looked like his old self again, and his podium finish at Rogue should set him up nicely for a huge bounce back year now that his health issues seem to be under control. And Jeff Adler has really started to find his stride in live competition. If you look back at his last 5 live events, you'll see an athlete that is ready to make a push for some hardware at the games. Events like Rogue can really be a springboard for athletes trying to find their footing in live competition. And this past weekend, combined with the unprecedented men's podium race we got this year in Madison, and I honestly think 2023 could be one for the record books. Justin Medeiros is the undisputed king, but there's never been a more exciting collection of challengers in my humble opinion. All in all, it was another great year of competition out at the Rogue Invitational, and the storylines and performances gave us a ton to chew on as we get ready now for the 2023 season. Sean?
Last week, changes to the adaptive season were released, and one of the biggest highlights is that all 8 divisions will be invited to compete at the CrossFit Games as long as those divisions have enough participation to allow for a competitive field. And for more on the changes to the 2023 adaptive season, let's send it to Tom Miazga.
Thanks, Sean. Now, from a superficial lens, I can see where the outlook for the adaptive divisions may cast a rather Jekyll and Hyde spotlight. Removing the semifinals from this year's schedule may look like we're taking a step backwards, yet we have this big, beautiful, shiny object waiting for all of our adaptive athletes in 2024. I'll be the first to admit that my training cycle for 2023 looks a lot different. I might have a little extra time to try new competitions or head down avenues of adaptive CrossFit that I have yet to experience. And while some may be rightly frustrated by this change this year, I think it's a bigger message from CrossFit that says open participation is going to be essential. Let's take a step backwards and realize that in just 2 full seasons, the adaptive divisions in CrossFit went from not even having a spot on the open leaderboard to having 30 members actively participating at the CrossFit Games, and along with awarding 16 different adaptive divisions purse prizes at both the CrossFit semifinal and Games level. Let's be honest, that's a pretty fair shake of an organization trying to build Rome in a day. But now let's spin that idea on its head for me. It's only been 2 years. CrossFit has only had 2 opportunities to try and figure this out. And while I'd love to see the seated or visually impaired athletes competing live on the floor as well, there simply hasn't been enough data yet provided to give CrossFit a plan for how to move forward. And in that regard, it makes sense for CrossFit to include the 3 divisions that are most likely to be able to adapt to the equipment and venue standards as they are without incorporating significant adjustments that could alter the entire flow of the day. This exciting announcement of all the adaptive athletes competing in 2024 is CrossFit telling us, now we know what we're doing, and we're ready for you. 2024 is going to be epic, I have no doubts. Even the idea of competing on the CrossFit Games floor is just wild to me. But if we want inclusion at the pinnacle of the sport, we must first build inclusion at the foundation. Participation at all levels is going to be necessary to prove that this is not only something adaptive athletes are striving for, but that there is a large enough sample to use as a guide to ensuring the best is yet to come in 2024 and beyond. In my mind, 2023 is a simple year, but arguably more important than the milestones that lie ahead. With both RX and scaled options for inputting scores, along with awarding purse prizes during the Open, the same as was done during semifinals, participating in 2023 is the easiest answer to creating an avenue that is poised to build the future of adaptive athletics as a professional opportunity to new heights that we couldn't even imagine. So, I know it can be easier said than done, but we need to hustle while we wait. And probably just for 1 more year. But let's get excited. There's a clear opportunity ahead, and no one's gonna have to wait much longer.
Thanks so much, Tom, and thank you for checking out this edition of Game Central, presented by Game Day Ready, the only all-natural canalidine-based pain reliever in the world. You can eliminate muscle aches and joint pain with all-natural canalidine-based pain relief from Game Day Ready. 50% off now. You can visit www.crossfit.gamedayready.com. And remember that every episode of Miles to Madison is available now on the CrossFit Games YouTube channel. Go watch those if you haven't already. They are fantastic. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I'm Sean Woodland. We'll see you next time.